Bill, hi Jeremy, hi Cynthia. So good to see you guys. Yeah, Jack's here. You'll hear him too. He's being a little bit of a spaz. Hey Miles. Hey. All right. Hi Sarah. Hi Scott.
Just talk.
So great to see you guys. Thank you for joining in. Wow, it's awesome. Hi Parker. Yeah, so, I just really wanted to come in. Hi. I really just wanted to hop on and say hi and spend a little bit of today with you guys. Yeah, Jeremy says it's Friday. It is Friday. And it's really great to be with you. I am, hi Tracy, hi Karen. Super excited to talk to you guys about Streams. Streams came out today. Hi Evan. And Streams is an album that I've been working on for coming up on 2 years, I guess. I knew a while ago, well, I guess summer of 2021, I knew that I wanted to put out an album because it's been a minute since I've done a full-length album. My last full-length project came out, I think it came out in 2014, Turn Off the Moon. So it's been a while, and so I felt like it was time to share some new stuff. And of course, back during the pandemic, I kind of started writing a lot, and I know that the pandemic kind of proved to be frustrating for a lot of creatives. It was hard for some folks to find the energy and the intentionality and just the inspiration, really, to create anything, and I totally get that. For me, I think it was a lot of things were going on in my life at the time when the lockdown started, and I think it was my way of working through everything, writing songs. And so I did, and I started putting out some new music in 2020, and some of you guys were there for that, and I really appreciate it. And so as time went on, I put out some Christmas music, and it felt like it was time for me to do something else and do something with, again, intentionality. And so the idea for Streams started. And so I started writing and I started recording, and the process for me since moving to California has been basically I sort of get into my workstation, my keyboard, and I start messing around with lyrics and melodies and loops and all the things to come up with a track, and then I take it back to Nashville and I work with my longtime producer Dennis Deering, and we have a lot of fun, and that's kind of the way this whole process works. But I thought I would come on, and we're going to play the record sort of in the background. You guys will hear it, and Dotson's here, as you can see. And I'll take questions if you guys have any. Looking forward to talking to you about the record. It all kind of started with the first cut on the record, which is In My Veins. And for a while I thought that In My Veins might be the title of the record. It was a song that's really important to me, I think, for a number of reasons.
Convinced the devil had mine.
Part of it was that I think I had struggled to find a way to communicate my faith more directly in my music since I kind of left writing Christian music some years ago and sort of decided to write for myself, and so I needed to figure out, well, what is my voice? Because when I was writing Christian music, I was writing for other artists, to sing, and so it was great to be able to do that. And I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed some success at it. But when it comes to writing for yourself, it's a little different. And so I needed to figure out how I wanted to say what I wanted to say. And it's taken a while. But In My Veins is a song that definitely kind of states pretty clearly, I think, a very basic tenet of my own theology, my own ideas about God and myself. And that is I was not created inherently bad. And none of us were, and so I think it's one of the ideas in Scripture that I've always struggled with is how can we be depraved and made in God's image at the same time, and so I really kind of grappled with that over the years and made my peace with that, and I wanted to really convey that in the first song. Love is in my veins. The love of God, the love of my family, the love of my friends, and I choose to live my life that way. And so I feel like that's the big statement that I wanted to make at the very beginning of this record. So that was in my veins. I don't know if you guys can hear. If you can't hear and you want us to turn it up a little bit, you go ahead. I hope some of you have had a chance to listen to some of the album at least. Hi Sherry. If you haven't, I hope you will. You can stream it anywhere. I've sort of been funneling everybody to Spotify because Spotify for me has some metrics and some data that helps me understand who my audience is, where you guys are, what's resonating with you, and so I've sort of opted to sort of send everybody there. And if you haven't followed me on Cynthia says in my veins made me ugly cry. I'm so sorry and so happy to hear that. Hi Tim Wheeler, it's great to see you. So yeah, you know, I just I really wanted to get back to myself when I was writing this record. It just felt like it was time for me to make some bigger statements on some things that I've really come to accept and believe about myself and God and the universe and everything. And so In My Veins was kind of the first place that started. The song we're playing right now is Bigger Now, you know, Bigger Now was a whole lot of fun for me. I got to sort of, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I actually read an article about this. Back during the pandemic, tempos on songs and pop music got faster. And I don't know why that was, but it did. And so we're getting back to like the tempos of songs, like some of the big pop songs, the big hits that I remember from the 80s, and like Danger Zone and songs like that really driving and like more of an up tempo, more of an energetic tempo. And so it was really fun to kind of go back to a tempo like that. This song blazes on at like 160 or something. It's crazy. But also because that's going on, that's current in pop music too, I was able to sort of pull from what's going on currently and also sort of tap into that love for 80s pop that I have. And Bigger Now really kind of deals with sort of like me coming to terms with the fact that I take up space in the world in all the best ways. You know, I think we sometimes think that we're in the way, or we think that our ideas don't matter, or nobody's paying attention. And I think I came to the conclusion that that isn't true. And so I definitely feel bigger now since coming to that realization. So I want to write a song about that. And that's bigger now. It's kind of soon. I'm going to look at what some of you guys are saying. Melissa wore her Stronger shirt today. Will there be streams merch available? Yes, we're talking about that. We have a design we're playing with for a t-shirt for streams that we'll be sharing soon. Thank you for the question. Thanks Cynthia for buying the new album today. I really appreciate that very, very much. Jeremy says, faster tempo equals the drive to press forward and get out of the standstill we were forced to feel at the beginning of the pandemic. I think that's a good one. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I was feeling a drive, for sure, to sort of, I think, you know, there was so much about life before COVID that I had taken for granted, that when we were all kind of locked down here, everything took on a different magnitude or different gravity somehow, and so I think you're exactly right. Would love to get more questions from you guys too. I got a couple of questions in my email today from Jill and Randy. First question, I've read and heard that a number of songwriters talk about when they sit down to write, which sounds like they're working on an assignment rather than working from inspiration. Personally, I wonder how many of the songs written during these kinds of writing sessions actually make it to an album. Do you sit down to write, or do you write from inspiration? And if you write from inspiration, where do you find your inspiration comes from? Good questions. Well, when I was writing in the Christian music industry, I absolutely wrote by assignment. It's part of how you get cuts, and co-writing is such a big part of getting cuts, because when you're writing with other writers, their people know people, and your people know people, and it like doubles or triples the opportunities for getting cuts. Plus, if you're writing a volume of songs, which when you're writing professionally and you're getting paid to do it, you have to turn in a quota. So you don't get to just write when you want to or just write when you feel like it. You have to do, you have to treat it like a job. So writing on assignment and writing with people, sometimes it can be awkward. It can feel like pressure. It can feel like work, because it is. But I've absolutely done that. I've had songs from those situations end up on albums, and that's great. In Nashville, that's kind of the way music gets made, particularly in country music. Those writing sessions are everything. These days, I don't write that way. I haven't written that way for a long time. I enjoy co-writing when I do it, but I don't do it very often. So right now, it's kind of a combination of challenging myself, which means taking time to brainstorm, taking time to research, taking time to listen, study what other artists are doing, what other writers are doing. So that's part of it. But ultimately, for me, I really value the inspiration when it happens. Speaking of inspiration, the song that's playing right now is Streams. And I definitely did not set out to write anything that resembled a worship song for this album. Worship music is something that I've always struggled with writing, for a number of reasons I could talk about. But I sat down at my keyboard and came up with that little motif and that chord progression, and in a couple of hours I had Streams. It wrote itself really quickly. And the inspiration for it actually came from, I was writing some devotionals, which turned into a book, which if you guys don't have it, it's on Amazon, Daily Contemplations for Misfit Christians. But I was writing these devotionals based on the daily lectionary, and on this particular day, the verse was, I will send streams in the desert. This is a paraphrase, I meant to paraphrase, but I will make streams in the desert. And I got to thinking about that as I was writing my devotional thought, as I did. What does this say to me? And I thought, well, I live in a desert. Not literally, but we all live in a desert, right? And what if I'm the stream? What if I'm somebody's stream? What does that mean for me? And so I wrote a devotional on that, and decided, you know what, I think there might be a song in that for me. And then when I sat down at the keyboard a couple of days later, it came out. So that was one of those very inspired moments that created a song. And I definitely love writing by inspiration. I have found that sometimes you have to create room for inspiration, which means being intentional about it, creating space, creating time, creating an environment that works for that. Sometimes it means changing, my atmosphere for In My Veins. I went to LA for a few days, and I got an Airbnb just to get a change of scenery, and wrote the song there. And so sometimes a change of scenery is good, but it's talk to any creative person, whether they're a photographer, an author, a poet, a painter, and they'll give you a different idea of what inspiration means to them and where they find it. I don't have a tried and true method for that, except that I just have to make room for it. And I have to act on it when it happens. Jeremy is asking, can you speak to how the change of scenery on a grander scale and leaving a comfort zone provided new insight and experience that inspired this album? And a similar question Jill and Randy asked, have you found that your writing has changed since moving west? I would say that a number of events sort of converged at the same time, and all of those shook me way out of my comfort zone. Moving across the country was a big shakeup for me. Went through a breakup that was a shakeup for me. Entered COVID, which was again a shakeup for me. And I think through all of that, and also just sort of as my theology has evolved over the last few years, I think I had plenty to talk about, and I had the desire to do that. Like I had the desire to share it, and so I think the change of scenery definitely had a lot to do with it. Again, I think sometimes getting out of where you either like where you've always written, where you've always created, or just a big life change can definitely kind of shake some things loose. So I think the combination of all of those things really opened me up, and then I was able to sort of write from really a place of openness and a place of kind of self-realization, and honestly a less fear than what I had before. And I do think that coming here was a big part of that, because there was fear that had to be overcome for me to even just get here. So did Jack inspire any line in a song on my album? No, definitely not. I mean, I love Jack, but no. Other questions, you guys? I would love to take your questions. The song that's playing right now, "Call Me Cautious," is kind of about being at midlife and deciding, do I want to be in a relationship? Do I want to date? Do I want to put myself out there? And some of you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard when you've been comfortable in a place for a long time and no longer does it exist. And so I want to write a song that kind of addressed that. That said, it's okay to be cautious. It's understandable to be cautious. Cynthia, this is one of my faves, and Cynthia knows what I'm talking about. I mean, when you get a little older, dating feels heavy. It feels consequential. And so it's just, it takes a lot to put yourself out there. And right now, with online dating and all the other things, plus there was COVID, so really that complicated the idea of dating. So I wrote the song early in COVID, as I was thinking about all of that. And I really like the way it turned out. Let's see, Sarah says, fear and overcoming it is definitely a theme. Talk about some of the themes that appear in this collection, whether intentional or not. Overcoming fear has always been a theme, I think, in my writing, because a lot of the songs that I've written in the past, you guys would know, like Stronger, for instance, Chains of Maybe is another one, Turn Off the Moon, all sort of address fear of various stripes. And those songs are really written by me, for me, to me. And so overcoming fear is definitely a theme. I think another one is probably intentional connection with God and the universe. I think in the past, when I've addressed faith in my albums, it's been more about what happened to me or how I felt. But I feel like on this album, when I approach faith as a theme, I approach it more as, this is something I'm doing, this is something I believe, this is something that I'm willing to put some skin in. And so I think that's different for me. I think, being really clear about what I think and what I believe about God, myself, the universe, all of us, was something that I really wanted to do and that I was really intentional about. So that's a big thing. And then I really wanted to write some joy into this record. There's a song, it was on the EP that's also on this album called The Guy I'm Growing Up to Be, that really kind of addresses, it gets at places where I have reconnected with joy in my life. Joy that I had when I was younger, and places where I found it. You know, it can be as silly as riding a roller coaster or reading comic books, or it can be, you know, in bigger ways. And I think that I really wanted to talk about where I'm finding joy. You know, Bigger Now kind of talks about it a little bit, but The Guy I'm Growing Up to Be definitely does. And then I'm always quick to affirm everybody in their divinity and their sacredness. And so there's some songs on there that definitely do that too. Let's see, what other, I thought I saw something else that Jeremy said, but it might have gone away.
Lost it.
Hi, get in. It's great to see you, buddy. Steven, the beard. Yeah, man, I'm getting older, and so I've got the gray. It's great to see you, man. Also, it is time for us to write another song. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Everything is well, my friend. I hope everything's great with you and your family, too. What is my favorite? Oh, okay. What is my favorite or proudest song on the album? I don't know if I have one. Generally, my favorite is the most recent one. And if that would be the case, if that is the case, the most recently written song on the album is Until I Fly, which was the one that you just heard. And I do love the way it turned out. I will say that it's the hardest one on the album to sing. But I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. You know, I think I go back to In My Veins the most. I think I'm proud of it because it was the song that started this project. I think I'm proud of it because it makes a statement that I've wanted to say and I've struggled with how to say it. And I like the way it's written. I like the melody. I enjoy singing it. It has power where I want power. I think it's probably my favorite. I think it's also one of the more creative lyrics I've ever written, in a very non-poetic sort of way, if that makes any sense. I think young writers struggle with the balance between how to use conversation and how to use poetry effectively in the same lyric, and I think the pendulum for me has swung really widely. I've gone from a lot of poetry to practically none, and I feel like I'm sort of finding some place in the middle that's probably more conversational than poetic, but I love a poetic device. And so I'm really happy with how that lyric came together and how it's structured. So I guess if you're asking me right now, I'm going to say In My Veins. I will tell you that I have another new song that's not on this album that's going to be out in the spring that I am really super excited about. Of course, I'll be sharing more about when we get closer to time. Sarah has another question. What song seems the most personal or the most vulnerable on this album? And from a writing perspective, is In My Veins the most fun to write, or was it another? In My Veins was not the most fun to write. In fact, it was kind of hard to write. I think it was because it was kind of a hard turn for me. And I sort of took this trip and I sort of put some pressure on myself to make sure that I was writing and being productive while I was there in LA. So I don't think it was the most easy or the most fun, even if it is maybe my most favorite. The most fun might have been Bigger Now, and I really enjoyed like the production part because I do all the production too. With Dennis Deering, when I go back to Nashville, Dennis records my vocals and does my guitar work and mixes for me. I do all the other stuff here, and doing the production work on Bigger Now was a ton of fun. So I just had a great time doing it. Have I considered writing a musical for Broadway? I have considered writing a musical. I wouldn't say I've gone as far as Broadway, but I have written a few songs for a stage play idea that I have. We'll see if it ever comes together, but yes, I have. Melissa, you and I have discussed capital H home versus small h home. you still record and produce in Nashville. Do you find some comfort in coming home for that process? What would it feel like if you did that studio work in California? That's a really good question. Dennis, Deering, my co-producer, and I have worked together for 26 years. We started working together when I was a staff writer at Sony Tree in Nashville, and this was 26 years ago when Zach was a baby. And we've worked together this whole time, and I just have a real comfort level with him. We just really understand each other, and he understands how I like to work. You know, he has my vocal settings already programmed in, so it's just like he just hits the Benton button and everything goes exactly where it's supposed to go. He knows what I like in my headphones. He knows how I like my mixes to sound. And so there's a great comfort level in coming back to him with what I have and working on that with him. I think he could be anywhere and I would feel that. So I don't know that it's Nashville as much as it is Dennis. I think that's really the key for me. It would be different if I did it with somebody else, whether it was here or in Nashville. I have worked with other producers before. I never have as much fun, and it's I think what Dennis and I have together, our friendship and our working relationship are both really special to me, and so I think that helps create an environment where the work that we do and what we create together is better for it. Jeremy says, which song would you consider doing as a duet, and who would be your dream duet to sing it with? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, which song on this album would I consider as a duet? Wow, that's hard. Maybe Stronger. Of course, it is not technically the oldest song on this album, though. We'll get back to that in a minute. Even though you guys heard Stronger for the first time, I guess, in 2017, 18, along in there. But Stronger, I think, would be a fun duet to do. I love Kristen Chenoweth, and I just saw her live recently, and if I could do a duet with Kristen Chenoweth, I would be a very happy camper. So if you have an in with Kristen, just let her know that. I have another question here from Jill and Randy. How does a song come to you, like words, melody, hook, question mark? Is it always in the same pattern or does it alternate? I tend to want to start with lyrics. Music is something that I've always been able to conjure up pretty easily, and in writing co-writing sessions in Nashville, I would always be sort of the melody guy. And they would put, my co-writer would put a lyric or part of a lyric in front of me, and then I would put in music. So the music part is less challenging typically for me than the lyrics. So I like to spend a lot of time with lyrics. So when I'm writing by myself, I usually start that way. I will say there's a song on Turn Off the Moon, there's a song on Turn Off the Moon called Love is a Dirty Word, and I was actually collaborating with my good friend Franz Robert on something last night having to do with that song, which you guys will hear in a few months. It's just getting started. But he asked me about what was the writing process on that song, and that was one of the rare moments where I started with a loop, and I wrote a melody and a lyric without chords, which is not the way I typically work. But usually I start with a lyric. Now, occasionally I'll get an idea for a melody. Until I Fly is one of those examples where the whole thing started with that piano intro that I did, which was completely improv. I happened to have my recorder on when I did it, so I was able to save it and preserve it and use it because I decided that I liked it. And then I did there's a that goes on under the verse. Yeah, there's the intro, which has beautiful strings on it, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But that verse part, the moving part, I came up with before I had a melody or a lyric. But I had the idea of fly. I wanted it to be about flying. I wanted it to be about when do you experience flight. And flying is something that I've mentioned in lyrics before. In Chains of Maybe, I talk about you were born to fly. And I do believe that. I believe that we are all born to fly. And sometimes we have to work to find out where we shine and where we are able to fly. And the song Until I Fly really kind of addresses the idea that we try until we fly. And that there's something really important and special and honored and God honoring and self honoring when we try. But that song started just with that piano motif. It didn't even start with a melody. So it just kind of depends, I guess, on how and where the inspiration strikes. Thank you, Jeremy, for tagging Kristen for me. Tagging Kristen. Thank you very much. Sarah asked, being a native Tennessean, would you do a duet with Dolly? Who wouldn't do a duet with Dolly? I would love to just meet Dolly and have a conversation with Dolly. I adore Dolly Parton. She's just one of my favorites. What else, you guys? What other questions you guys have for me? I was going to say, so, there's a song on this album called 3 Minutes. That I know my friend Sarah remembers, but I wrote that song back in 2008, I believe. And there is another recording of it that exists, but it was never released anywhere. Jeremy's tagging Dolly for me now. It was never released anywhere. But it's a song that I've always enjoyed, and I've played it out live before many times, actually, with a band, but not in a long time. And so that's one of the songs that I sort of had set aside for that stage play that I was when I was responding to Cynthia. It was one of the songs that I still intend to include in it if it ever really comes to pass. But 3 Minutes is a song about being a songwriter, really, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. But it's a favorite moment of mine, and I'm glad that I was finally able to give life to that song, because it's been around for a really long time. It predates the release of Grace and Gravity, so wow, yeah, it goes back a long ways. But it was fun to do it this way, because I did it differently than I used to. So that was fun. What else would you guys like to know about streams or about songwriting, the creative process, or anything else? Because I'm enjoying answering your questions. Jeremy says, would you be doing any house concerts with this new album? How would you set that up? Asking for a friend. Thank you, my friend. Yes, I would love to play out with this album. I always love doing house concerts. They're my favorite. I would rather sit in a living room with a handful of people and share songs and have conversations, and to me that's a great deal of fun. So I would totally be down for that. If any of you would like to have me in for a house concert, you can reach me a number of different ways. Some of you know how to text me. Some of you know how to reach me here on Facebook, because you're here. You can message me. You can also email me. You can email me at benton@schoolforseekers.com. You can email me, and I will get back to you, I promise. I would love to come and do house concerts. I'm back and forth to Nashville a lot. So if you're in the greater Nashville area, that's pretty easy. If you're in the Bay Area, that's also pretty easy. If you're not, then we can figure something out. But I love doing house concerts. And, I also am interested in playing, I can play churches, I can play bars, I can play clubs, I can do the whole thing. But house concerts are my favorite venue, for sure. Jill is asking, do you have a notebook containing stray lyrics, like a line or two you really like but haven't found the right song for them yet? I do, but it's not a physical notebook. It's my computer, and I have a folder full of parts of lyrics, and I do consult with it a lot. And some of the ideas actually that made it onto streams came from germs of ideas that I've had, sitting in that folder for years. And some songs, honestly, take years to write. I remember there's a song on Turn Off the Moon called People Change, and that song took me something like 5 years to finish. And so, I don't give up on any idea that I have. I always just stick it in that folder. If I'm working with it, I'm like, this is dumb or this isn't working or whatever, I'll stick it in that folder and I may come back to it in a month or a year or 10 years and it's still sitting there and it may resonate with me in a different way. So, so yes, I absolutely keep those ideas around. Jeremy asks, are there any songs that you've written, current or past, that you look back on and feel a sense of pride that you've grown past that experience? So many, yeah, so many. That's a really good question. I wrote a lot of songs when I was in Christian music that I'm very proud of. I also wrote a lot of songs when I was in Christian music that reflect a theology that no longer, it's no longer my theology. And so in a way, I feel like, I grew past that, or I grew out of that season of my life. Does that make those songs bad or wrong? Absolutely not, because I had to write those songs and I had to believe those things to get to where I am now. It's all part of the evolution. So I don't regret any of them. But yeah, there are some that I listen at and I'm just like, yeah, this makes me squirm a little. But all of it was learning and growing, But I'm very proud that I have moved past some of that, definitely that kinds of theology. Parker, what artists do you draw inspiration from in your songs? That's a great question. I listen to a lot of different kinds of music. I listen to a lot of pop music. At the coffee shop where I work part-time, I'm exposed to all kinds of music. I have a coworker there that is into kind of world music, and so you never know when he puts on a playlist what's gonna happen. And so I really enjoy learning about different musical cultures, different kinds of musical artists. I will say that lyrically, I really learn a lot from country music. I learn a lot from really good storytelling that happens in country songwriting. I just think, the imagery and the visuals and all that is brilliant, and so I enjoy that a lot. But there are artists and writers that I gravitate to, that I enjoy for a number of different, for all kinds of reasons. I love Sara Bareilles. I think she's a brilliant songwriter. I think she's a great singer. I think she's a great actress. I think there's just so much about her that just connects to me. So I love Sara Bareilles. I really enjoy John Mayer's writing over the years. I've enjoyed him a lot. I like Ryan Tedder of One Republic, who's written hits for everybody. So I like everything from kind of pop formula like Charlie Puth and Taylor Swift, all the way up to really avant-garde and different kinds of things. And I think I learned something from all of that. Lately, I think I've been listening to everything from Carly Rae Jepsen, Thomas Rhett, Charlie Puth, John Williams. So I've been listening to a wide variety of stuff. That's a great question. Is 3 minutes my equivalent to Sara Bareilles' Love Song? Probably. Yeah, probably. Because I imagine Love Song came out around that time, and I remember loving that album so much. Jill has another question. Do you ever dream a song? Oh, yes. All the time. I write songs in my dreams all the time. If so, has that or those songs made it onto an album? No, because regrettably I forget them within moments of waking up. But I remember one dream that I had that it was a complete showstopper with a choir and choir robes, and we were like in a church and we were processing in, and everybody had their tambourines and everybody was praising. It was a big old number, and I couldn't remember any of it when I woke up. It was a real shame. Are there any songs, Jeremy says, that you could use a good or mediocre barbershop quartet to sing background on? Yes, I'm quite certain I could come up with one. I'll keep that in mind as I'm recording more stuff this year. Question from YouTube: will there be a CD available, like a hard copy CD? I would definitely be into making CDs, also vinyl albums. I know a couple of people have asked me about that. If you are interested in either of those things, let me know. You can email me at benton@schoolforsecrets.com, or you can message me here on Facebook. I have thought about getting a handful of vinyl records made. I have a record player over there, and I do love listening to vinyl. So yeah, if you are interested in a physical CD too, we can definitely talk about that. Have you and Elaine collaborated on any songs you've written? No. Although I'm sure that some of our conversations have inspired some lyrics, and definitely our conversations inspire my theology all the time. So yeah, and definitely if you guys haven't listened to our podcast, Cocktail Theology, we have a lot of fun, and our conversations definitely spur thought, which get me thinking about songs, lyrics and stuff. So yes, I think our conversations have definitely inspired my writing. Sarah is definitely interested in either format, loves CDs and vinyl. So yes, okay, awesome. Then we will explore that for sure. And Sarah says Cocktail Theology rocks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We love doing it, and there will be a new season starting soon. Jill says, let's fantasize. A major artist calls you and asks you to record one of the songs you've already released. What song is it? Ooh, that's a really good question. What song is it? There are a couple, maybe three. And they're all sort of heartbreakers. One is Turn Off the Moon. I definitely could hear another artist singing Turn Off the Moon. One is All Right to Be Okay. Definitely could hear somebody else singing that. And the other is Better Off Broken. Better Off Broken, actually, I had signed it with a publisher for a while. With the intention the publisher was going to pitch it to Josh Groban. And did, I think, actually. It didn't get very far with Josh Groban's people, and I know that it was pitched to a few other artists too. And so, I was thrilled that it was getting pitched and stuff, but then the person that believed in the song left the publisher, and so after a couple of years, I reached out to the publisher and said, look, if you guys aren't going to do anything with this, I'd like it back. And so they gave it back to me. But I think Better Off Broken could be done by a number of different country artists. And All Right to Be Okay, I think what I've learned just from the feedback that I've gotten from people is that it touches on loss of all kinds. I was writing it about going through divorce, but I know for a fact that survivors of suicide have used it in their group meetings, and I know that it's been used in other ways that is incredibly rewarding and humbling for me. So yeah, and if anybody wants to record any of my songs, you are most welcome. I don't treasure them like little babies, at least, not until I've done something with them. And anyway. Hi Belinda, hi Matt, it's great to see you guys. And Jeremy is charging Belinda with asking me a good question. She does ask good questions. So yeah, speaking of Matt, so you guys asked about co-writing earlier. I have co-written with my friend Matt Geringer, and a number of songs actually, and two of them made it onto the original, the Grace and Gravity record, which I'm very proud of. But yeah, it's good to see you too, Matt. Anyway, but for this album, everything was written just 100% by me. I wrote everything on streams by Malone. Sarah says, hi Belinda. Belinda, we all love you. And Belinda and I have co-written some things. And you guys know Belinda's on Turn Off the Moon, right? She's on Jesus Under My Bed, because we wrote that together with her brother Aaron. And I love that song. Love singing that song live, actually. That's one of my favorite songs to do live. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so our friend Lisa is asking, posing the question, how about Love Is the Way Back Home for Dolly? I would love nothing more than that. Are you kidding me? That would be fantastic. Yeah, and I think maybe of all my songs, that might be one that I could actually hear her singing. That'd be good. Sarah's asking, are there authors or stories that influence streams? Well, the passage in Isaiah that I referenced earlier, which actually inspired the song streams. You know, I don't think there was any specific book or anything like that, but I absorb a lot of media and a lot of. I'm not an avid reader. Read a lot of articles, and so I kind of feel like everything that I listen to and everything that I read just all kind of I think it's just a blender. You know, I'll get thrown in the blender, and then whatever it creates, the smoothie that it creates becomes whatever I create from it. So nothing specific. Although I enjoy Instagram, and so there are people and there are people that I follow on Instagram that regularly post things that challenge me in ways that I think inspire thought that probably leads to inspiration for sure. Awesome. What else, you guys? Jeremy's tagging Dolly again. Yeah, because we keep talking about Dolly. Other questions you guys have? I hope you guys have had a chance to listen to some of the record. The strategy, if there was one going into this, was that I would release a number of singles leading up to the release of the album, because the way that music gets released now, you know, you want to you want as many opportunities to get in front of you guys as possible. And so by having multiple singles, I was able to do that multiple times. And so that's why I do that. That's why other artists that you see in your Instagram feed or on Spotify do that. It's because it gives us more face time with you, and that's what we want. So, but really loving these questions, you guys. You're asking me really good questions, and I appreciate it. Is there any song that you guys like from the album especially? Is there something on the album that you find particularly challenging or interesting, or is there a song that you're like, why is this song on this album? I would love to hear those questions from you guys, or comments from you, because I always want to know what you think. You know, as indie artists, it's like when we put out music, it's all about you guys sharing what we do. And if you like it, you'll share it, and if you don't, you'll be like, eh. And so it's important for me to know sort of how this record hits you. If you find it really different from other things that you're listening to, if it's sort of in the vein of what you guys are listening to right now, I would just love to know, because I don't have an objectivity really about that. I know that when I go in to work on a project like this, I have ideas about how I want it to sound and what, you know, but it's like, it really does come down to the audience, right? So anyway, Sarah, Until I Fly, love it. It reminded me of the MLK quote about stepping out in faith. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love that. Until I Fly feels kind of special to me too, even though I feel like the writing of it was not as it wasn't as intentional as I was on the other songs on this album, but I'm just really happy with how it ended up, how it turned out. So I'm glad that it reached you. What demographic, social group, audience would you most like to impact with this album? You know, I mean, I'm happy if anybody listens. But I think that the older I get, the more I understand that my music is going to resonate with people that have a certain maturity level. I think that it's not in my nature to write really fluffy pop songs, even though I enjoy listening to fluffy pop songs. I think that I can't write without putting some of my skin in it. So I think I like appealing to people who appreciate that, who recognize that and appreciate that. And I always want my songs to make people think and feel. So that's what I'm looking for in an audience, I think, is people that think and allow my songs to sort of soak in. They're willing to sit with them. I think that's my favorite. So we've got just a few minutes left. Is there a song that you guys would like to listen to together from the album? We can put it on. We have technology for that. Because this is sort of a listening event too, even though all I've really done is talk. But then it would have been weird to just like play my music and you just kind of sit here and you look at me while we do it. So this was better for me anyway. But is there a song that you guys would like to listen to together? Or do you have any other questions or anything else to help wrap us up? Also, is this something that you guys enjoy? Because I like engaging with you guys this way. It's not something that I do very often, but I like doing this, so I hope it's been fun for you. Cynthia votes for Call Me Cautious. Why do you vote for Call Me Cautious? I know you mentioned earlier that you like that song, so I'm interested to know. I mean, I kind of think I know, but I'd like to hear it from you. Anybody else? We'll go ahead and put on Call Me Cautious while we're wrapping up. So I hope it's been fun for you. Cynthia votes for Call Me Cautious. Why do you vote for Call Me Cautious?
So it's been a while since I felt the sudden mischief in a smile.
Anybody else?
A little trouble when I touch.
Yeah, Cynthia, me too.
The kind I had with you.
Oh, thanks, Sarah. I'm glad.
But even after all this time, I don't know what to do. Call me cautious. What if I'm scared to risk my
One thing that I'll say,
Call me
cautious, to hit that note. I had to lower everything else, so that's why a lot of it. And actually, I love the way it turned out. But most of the song is in a very kind of low to medium part of my range, which is kind of cool because I think it's more conversational that way. But yeah, so to hit that note convincingly, I kind of needed to put everything else in a more comfortable place. So, hi Michelle, it's good to see you. Christian says this has been great. Thanks for sharing. Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. I will do this again sometime soon. Anything else to wrap us up, you guys? I really appreciate you taking time to hang out with me tonight. I know it's kind of late for some of you guys. It's 8 o'clock here on the West Coast, where we had snow. It's weird. Not right here, but just a few minutes down the road, there's snow, and there's snow in the mountains all around. It's kind of crazy. Jack wants to say goodnight, I think. Anyway, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Message me anytime. I love to hear from you. And if I could ask you to do 2 things, share me on your socials and follow me on Spotify, because both of those things help me out a lot in terms of growing my audience, helping other people find me. If you follow me on Spotify, then I'll show up in your release radar every time there's a new song that comes out. So release radar is a really cool thing. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, it's great to be here with you too. And thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, I'm always happy to share. So much love for you, Benton. So happy to be able to hear your music. Thank you, Parker. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much.